When I got her, you were born in West Virginia, if I understand right.
Yes, sir.
And when were you born?
I was born in either 33 or 34. The year is questionable. The day and month are not. It's December the 4th.
Okay. And what did your mother have to say about that?
Well, she wouldn't have anything to say about it. It was just the way things were put down in that day and time. You never knew for sure when anyone died or where their death certificate was, because it really wasn't important. It got to be more important when we got into the 50s, because then better records were kept in the state of West Virginia and also in the counties. The counties is where the problem came from, because counties didn't keep up as well as they might have. But it's because it wasn't really important. That's the way it operated in that day and time.
Virginia?
I did. I went to college in West Virginia. I went to Marshall University. And when I finished at Marshall University, I then went to Washington and Lee University in Lexington, Virginia. I was flown down to Jacksonville, interviewed by the firm, and offered a job when I graduated.
When did you start that job,
About 1960, I believe.
Okay. So at that point you were about 27 or 26 years old?
No, I would have been, I think I'd been 25. Okay. I believe so.
So you came down to Jacksonville about 1960?
That's about correct. Yes, sir, sometime in that period of time.
And,
yes, sir.
And
they hired.
And you were a single man?
Oh, yes, that time.
Well, what was it like for a single man in Jacksonville in 1960?
What I did was, you have to understand this. First of all, I didn't have a great deal I had no independent money. That was one thing that the firm wanted to be sure I didn't have any independent money. The reason I think that Mr. Watts wanted to make sure I didn't have any independent money was because he knew I'd have to work hard in order to stay in Florida, and he wasn't planning on allowing any slack. And so I was paid. I was actually offered a pretty good salary at that time, but I was offered $275 a month. Ronnie Buckingham and Carl Stoss came down about the same time. We all came at the same time, that same firm, and they were offered $325. And as Carl said, he laughed about it. The reason they were offered $325 is because they were married. They got $50 more a month because of their wife. But Watts figured that since I didn't have a wife, I didn't need the extra $50, so therefore I was paid $275. And basically...
So did you start looking for a wife then?
No, I did not. I did not. No, I certainly did not start looking for a wife. I was here over 3 years before I ever married. With that kind of money, you didn't really spend a whole lot of time going out. At least I didn't, because I didn't have any money to spend going out. I bought my groceries or whatever I ate at Moe's Meads. Moe's had a little store, Meads grocery store over on Oak Street, and also shopped with Johnny Beloit on the Banner store.
You lived in the Riverside area?
I lived in the Riverside area, I did. I came down and I lived in a garage apartment that belonged to Janice Wall. It was on the corner of Edgewood and Park. And I lived in a garage apartment for a good while. I also lived on the third floor of another lady's house. His name I can't read. Wadsworth, that's who it was. Catherine Wadsworth, I think. And I basically ended up over in Janice Wall's garage apartment because it was a little lower rent. I had a Ford automobile, an old Ford Victoria. It wasn't old. It had twin carburetor and all that good business. It was a nice car at the time. And my good friend who I'd met, we all ended up I ended up at the Riverside Baptist Church. I was looking for a place to go to church. I was over there one time and with the service, and I was walking out. Someone hit me so hard on the back, I thought I was going to go to my knees, but I didn't. I was very strong at that time, having played football at Marshall University, and still maintained a very good physical condition doing intramural sports at Washington and Lee. the fellow was Grady, and he told me, you know, he liked to have me stay at the church, and I ended up meeting Rex Setzer, who is a very dear friend of mine, and Larry Lynch, a very dear friend, Richard Huster, and we had really a very large class, and our teacher was Emmett Ferguson, the doctor, MD, and we all hung out together. We decided to form a basketball team. Riverside Baptist Church did. We entered a open church league, and much to everyone's surprise, we ended up winning the Open Church League. And we did that about 2 years in a row. We ended up playing a Navy team at Fletcher. They were from Mayport. It was a game that was scheduled, well, I wanted to schedule us to see how we could do against an older bunch of players. And I mean, those guys about beat us to death, but we ended up outscoring them and won the basketball game. But I'll tell you, after the game was over, we didn't spend any time taking a shower. We stuffed everything in our bag and got out of there because those guys were really unhappy they lost the game.
Well, tell me about your social life.
Well, my social life was we would go down to Rex and Larry Lynch had a place down in Neptune Beach called on Midway. It was called Mothers. That's what we called it. And it had a very alarming, very friendly name, very relaxing name, disarming name. Let's put it that way, because you would go see some young lady and she would want to know where you were going, and we would tell them, well, we're just going over to Mother's. That, of course, was the name of this house that we had. And Perry Pedrick was over there. We had all kinds of people over there. We had a ball. For a couple of years, we all hung out over there, and we actually got to be real good friends with the sheriff down there, Jarbo. In fact, we got to be so good friends, he would generally drive by. He had his German police dog in the car, and he would drive by and he would say, now boys, you know, we've had a couple of calls, just tone it down a little bit. No problem. Yes sir, Sheriff. And he'd drive on. He got to be very friendly with us and very kind to us. And from there we would go down to Pete's Bar. We were famous at Pete's Bar. Pete was still a bar there in Neptune, down in, I guess it's Atlantic Beach or Neptune Beach, right there where they meet. And Junior had a steakhouse there, or a little steak shop where he served people, and we would always go in there and eat. And finally, Jerry, one day, it wasn't finally, it was after the second time we were there, Jerry came over and said, look, fellas, we love having you here. She knew us all now. Well, we got to know everybody fast. And she said, you all, from now on, stay over in Pete's Bar until this restaurant closes. And then we'll come over and tell you to come in the back way, and you can come in here and you can eat and have fun. But we don't want you in here with our regular customers because you're running them all off. You're making such noise and you're laughing and you know, that kind of carrying on and telling stories. And so anyway, after the place closed and the blinds were dropped, she'd come around and say, okay, you all can come over. And we'd go over and get our country fried steaks and whatever it was that Junior was fixing that particular time. It was a great experience, very much like Junior and Jerry. They're probably both retired. I know they both retired. I'm not sure that they're still both alive.
So now, Rex Setzer is the one that rented the house?
Rex Setzer and Larry Lynch owned the house.
Oh.
Together. They owned it.
It was on the beach?
It was on Midway, which was the street off the beach.
Okay.
In other words, you had the beach, and you walk up, and when you hit the street, you're on Midway. And Thurston Roberts' house was right across the street from our house, T.S. Roberts. We were in a good area, and things really went well for us. And then we all, during the time we were playing basketball and what have you, we all had a few dates from time to time. And then probably about 3 years later, all of us began to get married at the same time.